I think it is a sign that there's this positive risk on environment in crypto as well as stocks. In fact, we've seen AMC, GameStop, like all those big stocks that pumped in 2021. They've had big runs recently. Bed Bath Beyond was another one. My only concern is that that's not a healthy thing. When you see a lot of junk coins out there making like 100, 200, 300% runs, that's generally not what you want to see for a healthy market. So to me, that's a sign of caution, right? It's kind of like people are dreaming and hoping that those good old days come back. But a lot of times, at least historically, that's been a fake out.
Bitcoin remains firmly bullish at $23,000, according to new on-chain metrics from one of the industry's best-known names. Hello and welcome to Money Talks. In today's video, founder and chief market strategist at InTheMoneyStocks.com and verified crypto investing Gareth Soloway updates about Bitcoin's current market standing, the final bottom in crypto, and his outlook for Bitcoin in 2023.
Yeah, so the Fed, there's a big Fed decision next Wednesday. So February 1st, next Wednesday, the Fed will release their FOMC policy rate decision. The anticipation, what the market's expecting, is a 25 basis point hike. And really, they're generally, if you look at the Fed expectations, it's one more hike after that, probably 25 basis points, and then the market is expecting them to stop hiking. And I think that's why you're seeing some of this risk on environment. It's knowing that the end is in sight for the hikes. I still think the market's misjudging it, though, because it's not just about not hiking. If we're going to stay at 5% interest rates, that's going to be problematic for assets over the longer term. So the market has to now say, okay, well, they're not hiking anymore, but when do they start to cut? And obviously, we know that's going to be when the economy weakens substantially, where they'll have to react. Yeah, so in my very short-term trading, not so much, because I'm like in and out so quickly. Like day trades you're in and out in minutes, sometimes seconds. Swing trades, you're in and out in days or weeks. But for me, in my longer term, and again, I basically compartmentalize different sides of my investing, right? I have my day trading, which basically pays my monthly bills. I have my swing trading that builds wealth, and then my longer term, like assets in gold, physical gold, eventually more and more in Bitcoin. That's more of an insurance policy. It's the insurance policy that if the Fed does continue to print down the line, that will protect me, right? That's going to protect my wealth. And so that's where that comes in, where it does concern me on a longer macro basis. And that's why I'll ultimately continue to accumulate Bitcoin if it comes back in, and as well as gold.
As traditional institutions proactively reduce exposure to cryptocurrencies as a reaction to ecosystem collapses in 2022, Binance CEO Changpeng ZZ Zhao believes this move could potentially have a negative impact on such traditional financial players.
Right, so you definitely had, you had the FTX drop here, and then this was where it just went to sleep, right? It was just no volatility. This is where you had to exercise patience because, you didn't want to be jumping long or short in here, and it was just chopping people out. But once you got this break up, it was like a melt up. We went right back to the technical. Look at where price consolidated, right? Where it couldn't break through initially, that FTX high, and then it finally did, and we're actually starting to consolidate again. So at least in the near term, there is a chance that we could go up to 25,000 on Bitcoin here before running into some major resistance. The only thing I would dare say is that, for me at least, I still have a core position with my members as long on Bitcoin, but I would actually, if we get to 25, I probably unload that, and I probably start looking at turning it into a short for a pullback. So for me, it still doesn't seem like all of the things that I'm seeing in the Bitcoin market right now are not the telltale signs that a bottom is in. For instance, exuberance, like irrational exuberance, people just getting so crazed about Bitcoin when it's only moved up. And again, you could say from the lows, it's moved up, 50%? But really, in the scheme of zooming out on the chart, it is still way down here, but bullish sentiment is scary. It's almost as if we were all the way back to the highs from what I'm seeing on Twitter, at least. So that concerns me a little bit. One of the keynotes of a bear market really being bottomed out is that the first 20, 30, 40, 50% up, people are so skeptical and scared that they're not believing it yet.
Yes.
In this case, we're not seeing that. We're seeing all this bullish sentiment come back in so quickly, and it does make me a little bit nervous that that's happening.
The collapse of major crypto companies such as FTX and Terraform Labs reduced trust among investors and forced the traditional market to reevaluate their strategies for stepping into the crypto ecosystem. While the reluctance of traditional players stands as a deterrent to crypto's adoption in the short term, CZ argues that the decision might backfire over the next 2 decades. According to CZ, over the next 10 to 20 years, traditional financial players that choose to slow down on crypto adoption will be placed way behind the adoption curve, stating that the lack of crypto adoption may have existential implications for traditional financial players in 10 to 20 years' time.
Yeah, so for me, honestly, gold has ripped. I ended up unloading my swing trade on gold recently. Let me show my chart here so we can get into some chart action here. Let's see what we got.
Smash the likes for the charts, my friends. Let's get it. I love the charts. I get so excited. Okay, go.
Yeah. So here, I mean, if you look at gold, it has had a monster move up, right? Amazing move. I actually unloaded it because you're starting to get into some resistance over here. And I actually think that the dollar is starting to hit support or getting very close to support. So for me anyways, I'm going to look to buy gold. So my midterm outlook on gold remains ridiculously rosy. I still think we're going to make new all-time highs this year. We're actually not that far away. Here's your all-time high level up here. But at least for a short-term move, this is overbought now. And so for me, it's like, does it pull back to like this level right here, maybe down to here? At that point, I would start to kind of keep an eye on it and look to rebuy at those points, all right? So for me, I love gold midterm. I just think it's a little bit overbought right now. I wouldn't recommend buyers jumping in now. Wait for it to pull back a little bit, maybe 1850, give or take, and then that's where you start to reallocate some funds to it. The S&P 500, the low pivot on the S&P was in October, right? So, and you've seen generally a trend up from here. And if we go to Bitcoin, Bitcoin's low was kind of right over there too, right at the beginning of November. So you can see that there is a correlation, which does make sense because we know that when the stock market topped out, crypto topped out as well. So it's a risk-on, risk-off environment. Right now, we have a risk-on environment, so people are willing to put more money to work in the markets, thinking the lows are in. But it just be aware that if the NASDAQ and the S&P really start to tumble back down, it probably would be tough for crypto to withstand that sell pressure.
CZ, along with other crypto entrepreneurs, believe that the actions of actors like Sam Bankman-Fried set the industry back by a few years. As he said, regulators rightfully will scrutinize this industry much, much harder, which is probably a good thing, to be honest. CZ's long-term bet on the fate of crypto naysayers was supported by investors that have slowly started recovering from the traumas of 2022. The overall positive sentiment is supported by a slow but consistent bull run, which has brought back Bitcoin prices from the $15,000 range to well above $23,000 at the time of writing.
As a technician, by the way, I think as a chartist, you're always looking for these little edges, right? That's where we can, outperform institutions, and when we notice little things like this. And the thing is, as a trader, you can't say, oh, it's definitely a leading indicator, so I'm going to put all my money to work when it does it. But what you can do is you can say, okay, let me just pay attention to this. Let me write it down on my notepad, and then I'll check in. And then when you see it happening, let's say Litecoin starts to roll over, then you want to look for other factors. What else are you seeing? Has Bitcoin done a Fibonacci retrace? Is it hitting a major resistance level? Does my thesis hold up when I look at other things? And then that's where you can really utilize it to your advantage. Yeah, so RSIs are really, you have to be careful using it because RSIs can remain overbought for long periods of time. I've seen traders go broke trying to, say, oh, it was overbought, so I shorted, or it was oversold, so I went long, and it just stayed that way for long periods. One of the things I do look for is divergences, right? So if the RSI, let's say price was at $10 and the RSI was at 80, and then price goes up to $20 and the RSI is down below that, right? Let's say the RSI is only at 68 instead of 80. That would be a negative drop in RSI while price is going up, and we'd refer to that as a negative divergence. Those actually do tell you stuff. That tells you that big money's unloading in that situation into that move. And again, that's more of the way I use RSIs.
After the third consecutive week of gains, which totals 40% year-to-date when excluding stablecoins, there are no signs of demand from short sellers. More importantly, leverage indicators show bulls are not using excessive leverage. Derivatives markets point to further upside potential, even if the market revisits the $950 billion market capitalization from January 18th. There is no reason for panic. Currently, Bitcoin option markets show whales and market makers favoring the neutral to bullish strategies. Ultimately, the odds favor those betting that the $1 trillion total market cap will hold, opening room for further gains.
Yeah, I'm a simplist in that respect. Is like a lot of indicators can become very confusing for investors and traders. I love trend lines, and I really believe that like a candle formation, it speaks for itself. It tells you a story. And so, you can look at different charts and based on just the candle formations and how the candle forms and trend lines, you could find out almost anything you want about the probabilities of the next move. And then obviously I flip in a little Fibonacci. I'm a big fan of Fibonacci and a few other things as well. But yeah, I don't use a lot of indicators because I think, again, it can become very confusing for investors. Yeah, so I think the biggest thing is just to remember not to chase, right? The more hype you see on Twitter, the more when you see Bitcoin trending and stuff like that, it's going to naturally create an emotional trigger within you that's going to be like, oh my gosh, I'm missing out. I got to jump in here. But really what you want to do is look at the chart. And if the chart has rallied, in this case, from 16 to 22,000, even topping out above 23,000, you need to be able to say, listen, if I was going to the mall today and last week these jeans were on sale at $100, now they're $1,000 jeans. Would I be saying, hey, I got to buy these $1,000 jeans? You'd say, no, I'm going to wait for it to come back down, the price to come back down. You need to treat investments the same way. Buy them when they're down into support when they're on sale, essentially. And I think that's one of the biggest issues that people have is that people aren't treating it like going to the supermarket and looking for what's on sale. They treat it like for some reason, oh, I got to chase this even though it's up 3x or 4x from the lows. And that really is where people get in trouble. Ask anyone who bought in the 60,000 range on Bitcoin, right?
So what are your thoughts about Gareth Soloway's prediction? Tell us in the comments. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe. See you soon with the next video. Thank you so much for watching.